Hello, Easton Brown.
Hello, Cole.
I haven't. I don't think I've talked to you in a week.
Yeah, no, no. Actually, gotta save the conversations for the podcast, so we don't get to talk offline.
I don't need to save any conversations, and we can keep this under 2 hours if we talked a couple times during the week.
That's true. But that's all right. That's why we got the topics, right? Episode 11.
Yep,
Nice
or
and
or double ones.
double ones.
That's what they call the two lines in your forehead.
Yeah, those ones.
Oh yeah, you got some good ones.
Episode 11. We got some MotoGP to cover. Obviously, they were in Italy this week, and I was actually looking at the calendar. I didn't realize that, but next 3 weeks there's no break, which
Yep.
is because we're in Europe. So, well, not we. Sorry, MotoGP's in Europe.
Yeah. Maybe if we have, two more races back to back, the man we will not speak of can maybe finish a race. Let's roll the intro.
All right, intro.
Yesterday, at one point, I was in sixth.
And we're back.
We're live. We never said we're live, so I have to say it. We're live.
Sorry. We're live.
In
I got
case
some.
anybody-
I got some Josh Herron news to start it off.
All right, hit me with it.
Josh Herron, Moto America. Remember, I pointed out last week that he did the double barrel birdies and
Yep.
threw the announcers for a slight loop.
Yeah, I went back and rewatched that, and the pause that you were talking about, I was like, I was just laughing.
Well, apparently, I wasn't the only one that noticed.
Yeah.
Moto America handed down a $2,500 fine for that. And me personally, I think it's Moto America's fault for having the camera on him at that time.
Yeah. Well, or maybe it's just I don't know. I saw his little Instagram video. He said that's how he expresses his emotion. I don't know which emotion that one is specifically, but I don't know.
He flipped it on him though. He actually started like I don't know if it's actual GoFundMe, but I believe so. Started a GoFundMe for air fence and said, if I got to pay $2,500, let's match it. And he asked everybody to jump on and donate some money for air fences.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that, and I think within the first day he was over $5,000. Pretty good, and I don't think he's closed it yet. So I guess if you're interested in donating to air fences, that's where you find that. No, that's kind of funny because right afterward I was thinking, it's controversial. We talk about there's no such thing as bad publicity, right?
Right.
He didn't actually go cuss anyone out. He was just flipping people off on camera. And how much publicity did that bring in? Like, I haven't looked it up. I don't have the numbers, but that internet clip, I feel like it's more likely to get shared, right? And then maybe more people watch Moto America. So maybe they actually owe him money.
That's what I'm thinking.
So
Herron needs some money
probably
from Moto America.
Yeah. Who pays racers?
They get paid a lot of ways.
Yeah, but so I understand a lot of the money, you get your sponsors, you get the teams. Is it just all like a paycheck from the team, or is it all over the place?
I'm sure in Moto America it's a paycheck from the sponsors or the company that's hiring them to come race their bike.
Okay.
And a lot of them are doing it for free.
Yeah. Yeah, I do know that. Especially in Moto America. That's not a big money making series. So, but I mean, we've talked, I don't know if it was on here or not, but we talked before, like even MotoGP, they make a lot of money compared to like me, but compared to F1, it's like nothing.
It's nothing. I don't know that those numbers were based in any kind of reality, but Pecco Bagnaia last year after winning the championship, I had read somewhere because they don't have to disclose how much they get paid or how much they make like some sports do. Yep. There's no salary caps. There's no anything like that. So they don't have to tell you what they get paid. and somebody was trying to figure out what Pecco got paid, and if I remember right, the number was like $7 million for the year. That was
That's not bad.
with everything. So that's
Yeah.
great. That's great until you hear about a fourth tier American football quarterback that doesn't even touch the field and makes 3 times that a year
Yeah.
on a 4-year contract.
Yep.
That's another thing that's kind of interesting to me is speaking about MotoGP contracts. Brad Binder signed a 4-year, and that was like unheard
Know
of.
that. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I mean, he's in the 3rd year now of that 4-year contract, but
Okay.
when he signed that, it was unheard of because everybody, you either sign a 1 or a 2,
Right.
and they came in from the side. Had a lot of faith in that guy. Seems to be paying off for him, I guess, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the most recent, keep it on the contract line, Morbidelli mentioned he's not sure, not sure if he's going to stay with him or not.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. I was hoping you'd seen that.
Yep.
Hopefully, I'm not stealing your thunder. Do you want
No?
to say what he said?
Oh, I didn't see what he said. I just saw the.
They interviewed him today after the race, and the conversation went something along the lines of, how was it? He said they're working hard, they're getting better. That was his first top 10 of the year. Actually, he did good in Jerez. They were calling it his first top 10.
Maybe in the race.
Yeah, maybe it was a sprint he did, because I know he did have that one race where he ripped one off.
I thought that was the whole weekend, though. I'll have to look that up. I'll look it up. You keep talking. I'll be doing the research real quick.
So during the interview, they said, he said he's working hard, everything else. And then they asked him if he felt like he needed to beat Fabio. And he said,
Okay.
no, I don't. And they said, well, don't you think it's important? And he says, to who? The guy asking the questions was pretty taken back.
Mm-hmm.
And finally he says, why don't you ask Jarvis, which is the head honcho over there at Yamaha.
Right.
He just said, why don't you ask Jarvis? And then the follow-up question was, well, at a critical time in your career. And he says, critical for who?
Oof.
And they said, well, for you, for your MotoGP future. How you perform is whether you're going to get signed at Yamaha for another year or not. And he just looked at him. He says, who said I wanted to sign with Yamaha? And they said, you don't want to sign with Yamaha? And he goes, talk to Jarvis.
Interesting.
That's all he said.
Oh, man.
And I actually love listening to Morbidelli talk.
Mm-hmm.
I've always enjoyed the interviews and stuff. He stops, he pauses, and he thinks about what he's going to say.
Right.
And I don't know. It's like an American girl listening to somebody with a British accent. I get all drawn into his eyes and the way he hesitates when he talks just makes me want to hear what he's got to say the next thing.
All right, this is getting a little weird, but
yeah, got a little man crush on Morbidelli apparently.
Well, yeah, when I saw that, I was thinking, I was like, I mean, Rossi's been working with them, right? He's kind of part of the VR46. He's trained at the academy. I know he's not on the team, but that doesn't mean he's not a VR46 guy. And I'll go ahead. I was going to save this a little later, but I'll go ahead and say it in my thoughts and visions. Like Morbidelli signs with the VR46 team. I was like, well, the other 2 guys are also trained at the academy. And then in my head, I was just like, I started thinking of other people that are mad about their bikes. And then I just imagined 14 Ducatis out on the track. And that's just all it is. Because everyone's just like, Ducati's just like, yeah, no, sure, take another bike. Anyway, that's not what I want, but.
So I don't know where this is going to go, but you're right. Rossi's not going to let Morbidelli fall, I don't think, without at least one more shot on a Ducati. There's been a lot of news about Bezzecchi. They're already talking about wanting to move him up. They haven't given Bastianini the chance I think he deserves. I mean, he's been injured all year. It was not even his fault to crash. So, but there's already talk about Bezzecchi taking Bastianini's seat. There's a lot of talk going on about Johann Zarco going to World Superbike, which would open up a seat at Pramac.
Okay.
I think there would be an argument there, but Pramac is the 2nd tier.
Yeah.
R46 would be the 3rd tier.
Yeah, well,
it would be a toss-up between them and Grassini.
But are they 3rd tier, or are they just all 2nd tier, all 3 of them?
I don't know. Primac's got seniority. They've been there longer.
Yeah.
That's been the team. Grassini just switched over. VR46 just started. So I would put Pramac in that 2nd spot. I think Ducati wants to cycle their Pramac riders to the factory team. That's the route they want them to go.
Right.
Bezecchi's on that VR46 bike. Bezecchi's manager and Rossi have been talking, and they're saying they want to give him a factory bike but keep him on a VR46.
Oof.
Because they want that to become like its own factory. Basically, they're saying they like want to go fight for top tier spot in
on a BMW.
Yeah, no.
Well, hey, real quick, just to clear that up, Franco Morbidelli did take 4th in Argentina in the race.
It's definitely his best finish since then, but
yeah,
he did have that 1 week that was good.
Yeah, because I just remembered us talking about it because I was like, oof, it was not only good, but it looked like maybe he was turning things around. Which I don't know. I mean, I feel like every episode could just be the same discussion every year or every week of does Ducati just have it, and is anyone else going to be able to do it?
So Morbidelli it's not uncommon this year, and I think we're on a 2 race run now where he's outperforming Quartararo.
Mm-hmm.
So if Quartararo is the super stud that everybody says he is,
yep,
then he's ringing that bike for everything it's worth. Of course, right? It's Quartararo.
Mm-hmm.
So if Morbidelli's finishing ahead of him on the same bike, is Morbidelli still doing bad, or is the bike really just that bad? Because Quartararo ain't doing anything.
Yep.
He's outside of the top 10.
Well, yeah, he can't qualify. Hasn't been able to all year. Which I realized today that the commentators, announcers, whatever you want to call them for MotoGP, will not say anything bad about a rider. Just period. They'll say bad luck. They'll say, just hasn't had a good year, but they won't come out and say this guy does not ride well. They can beat around it a little bit, but even that, they're pretty far off. And I don't know if they're just not allowed to or what. But they were talking about, it was Alex Marquez, right? So he got pushed out yesterday in the sprint. And I was like, oof, man, I felt for him, right? Because I think from the riding I've seen on this Ducati, he's okay, right? I was starting to change my mind a little bit. And that was a very obvious, what was it, Marini?
Yes.
Knocked him off the track, right? Definitely not his fault. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sucks. Because he's had so many of those this year, I feel like, where someone else has pushed him off. And then today, spoiler alert, DNF.
Yeah, but
after riding really well.
So,
well, you didn't like his move.
What was that? He is so lucky that didn't go the way of his brother. That was a wrecking ball. That was completely out of control. He just had to let go of the brakes and shoot up in between a bunch of bikes. That was a mistake.
Yeah, but he rode it off fine.
Yeah, after.
Yeah.
That was not a good move. He was completely
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a good move, but
if he would have wrecked under that circumstance, I would have said, well, there's one that's absolutely his fault.
Well, but then his wreck was.
Yeah. And taking this back a little bit, if you go watch when he was laying in the gravel, he did pull a Josh Herron, so we'll have to watch and see what he gets fined.
$2.5 million. He should try and, well, I don't know if he'd raise any money, but he should try and raise money and donate it to America.
Yes, somebody needs to. We need some help.
Yeah, new asphalt for Coda. Stop complaining about it. I don't know. It kind of made me laugh because yesterday, just talking over the race, and I was like, man, that no one's giving this guy a chance yet. He hasn't had a chance to really come out. They keep talking about it too, right? They're talking about how he's on a new bike. He's got a Ducati. He's going to be this amazing rider, and he's been impressive when he keeps it on the track. On Sunday, I was just like, well, you can't blame that on anybody else. So,
yeah, what a race, though, really. I mean,
yeah, it was a good race.
The robot ran away, and that's fine. But there was some serious action going on throughout the race, down through the field further.
Yeah.
The only people that showed up, it was the Ducati Cup.
Yeah. Yeah, top 4 would have been top 5 if Alex hadn't been there.
There was a time when there was 6 during the race.
Yep. And then the KTMs, which I think is turning out to just be a weekly appearance, honestly. Yeah, they're either right there or they're out in front. So, or they're in the dirt. But I don't want to place, that's my only issue. Alex Marquez, definitely click him up there. The other he who shall not be named, whatever, is also pretty up there. But there's been a lot of wrecks in general, right? We've talked about that plenty of times this year already. There's been a lot. And so I don't want to just be here like, well, yeah, if this guy can keep it up, if this guy can keep it up. Because, I mean, it's part of racing, right? Especially on a bike. Turns out you have two wheels, and if it leans over too far, it falls over. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. Cars don't have that issue.
Honda,
Mhm.
I said it months ago. I'll say it again. If Honda wasn't there, the wrecks would be very limited.
True. Yeah. 28, I think, is what
28.
they said.
Yeah, 28 wrecks so far this year. And that might have been the stat they gave before the race. I can't remember when they gave that stat, but
No, I think it was after. I think I keep thinking it's more than that because of Alex Marquez. I always he's still a Honda in my head when I'm thinking about wrecks and whatnot, which Ducati cannot wreck.
So Nakagami crashed once during qualifying, but did not crash during the race or the sprint. But
he's their best guy this year.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't won, but he also can keep the bike up for the most part.
He's only wrecked half the races.
Yeah.
You had Joan Mir's out of the race with an injury.
Yep.
And then Alex Rins crashed, and that one seems pretty serious.
Yeah, it's like broken leg.
Broken leg, so he's gone for a while. Mark. Ding, 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 ding. Ow. So Mark, Mark, he crashes and just took a long look at his bike.
Yeah.
The interviews afterwards were pretty much the same. I don't know. It depends on the mood you catch that guy in my opinion. Sometimes you catch talking to him and he's like, yeah, we got things to work on, but I don't care about the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last week he said, or during the 3-week break, he said, I don't care what the other guys are doing. It's about me.
Right.
I'm riding a Honda. It's all about me. But today he's like, this bike can't be ridden. Joan Mir's gone. Alex Rins is gone. And now I'm gone. So that, to me, that story's changing a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, he
said the bike's bad.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. Even before the season started, he was like, after last season, I have one step, they have two, right? Or whatever. And I think he's been with Honda since he was freaking like 3 years old. He's been in Repsol colors.
Well, in the pre-race interview, the Thursday interview, somebody asked him. So Jorge Lorenzo did that little interview show they do where they're riding in a car.
Yeah.
Kind of a ripoff of Cars and Comedians or whatever.
Yeah.
But they asked him if he thought Mark would ride another bike for another factory. And he said he doesn't think Mark will ride a satellite bike. So it would have to be a factory bike and probably only a Ducati. So take that for what it's worth. Right. But during that interview on Thursday, they played that clip for Mark and said, what say you? And he said, he's wrong. If the situation's right, I'll absolutely ride a satellite bike. Then he started backpedaling a little bit and said, my number one goal is Honda. I want to succeed with Honda.
Yeah.
But he pretty much admitted that door's open. You know, it wouldn't blow me away if he was on the other Grassini next year and GGE is gone.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope that, honestly, I hope KTM tries to pick him up somehow because he's got one more year at Honda.
Yes, but they won't.
Why not?
Moto2 today.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we'll switch to Moto2 for a minute.
All right.
So Moto2 today, Pedro Acosta, who is a Spaniard.
Yep.
Pedro Acosta is the second coming of everything.
Yep.
In
Jesus.
Yep. In most people's eyes. So he's not leading the points right now. He was down 25 points going into this race because he's had a couple DNFs. Mm-hmm. So I think he's won 3 out of 5. Okay. But the other 2 were DNFs. Coming into, and that might not be exactly statistical accurate for the record, but
right.
At the end of the race, I think he's trying to take a page out of Valentino Rossi's book. I don't know if you've seen this, but at the end of the Moto2 race, he's doing his parade lap and he stops. He pulls off. Keep in mind, everybody, they're in Mugello. He's not Italian. Mm-hmm. His competitor is Tony Arbolino, who is Italian. That's the guy leading the points right now. Pedro Acosta pulls off. This guy hands him a backpack. Pedro Acosta's nickname's the Shark.
Okay.
It's what a lot of people call him. You'll see it. So he's got like shark fin on some of his gear and that kind of stuff. They handed him this backpack. He puts this backpack on and it's got a little fold-out shark fin on it. And then they hand him a flag with his number and whatever. And he does his parade lap holding this flag, but he's got this backpack on. Mm-hmm. So the announcers are going, what is this guy doing? What's in the backpack? What's going on, right?
Right.
So he drives all the way around. He gets almost to Parc Ferme, and he stops, and somebody comes up and gets the flag from him. He has him take the backpack off of him after he's drove around the one lap with it for whatever reason.
Right.
He takes the backpack off, and he sets it on the tank in front of him. pops his little shark fin up, and he pulls into the number 1 spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he pulls in, he unzips the bag, and he's got pizzas because they're in Italy, right? So
Yeah. Okay.
it's a pizza delivery bag. So he opens it up, and it says like a Costa pizza
Oh my goodness.
or something on it, and he pulls it
Okay.
out, and it's that kind of that's like some Valentino Rossi humor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something Valentino Rossi would do, but he pulls the pizza out, and the funniest thing that I noticed is there was multiple boxes. So he hands one to somebody from his crew,
Mm-hmm.
and then he takes the second one out, and he's like walking up to celebrate with his crowd. And Tony Arbolino's guy, not Tony, but one of his guys, was sitting in that number 2 spot, and he just reached over and handed him the pizza box. And then the camera tried panning away, but if you watched in the background, that guy looked at it, and you could tell he was pissed. He walked back over and like threw it on the ground by the because I don't think he meant it that way, but to just hand it, it was kind of like, "What's up? I'm first, you're second."
Yeah. Here, do you want some pizza? It's cooked
But he
by
was
the heat of my
posing like
bike.
biting the side of the box and everything else. But he's just got a little bit of flavor. But while
Yeah.
we're on Acosta, and the reason I brought him up to answer your question, in the
Mm-hmm.
after the race interview with him, someone asked him, a lady reporter asked him, "Is it true that your KTM contract says they have to give you a MotoGP ride by June 19th?" And he looked at her and he says, "You have too much information."
Oof.
And then he goes, "But usually when I say things, it doesn't come the same way when people watch it on TV."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "So I want to ride for KTM. It is true that that's what my contract says. I'm going to give them every opportunity. I want to ride for KTM." And he said, "It's also true that they've possibly hinted about me racing Moto 2 one more year because there's not room right now."
Right.
But he said, "That is not my first choice. I'm not saying I won't do it, but that is not my first choice." And he goes, "And if I give KTM one more year, they'll have the best bike on the grid." He says they only need 1 to 2 more years.
Interesting. All right.
So, I mean, he was giving him all the kudos.
Yeah.
Said he's raced KTM since he was a baby. He's
Yep.
still a baby. But I think it's cool that he's sticking with KTM, but you've got these guys like Yamaha, Honda, all these people, they're looking for anything to save them.
Yeah.
I mean, Aprilia, Vinales, what's he doing?
I don't know. So on my MotoGP fantasy, like on the MotoGP site, I put Vinales on there, right? Because I don't know. I thought he was going to do pretty well this year, and he was doing okay. But he's such a wild card, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know what he's doing. He was just talking a week ago about how he had so much because last race he was involved in the crash with Pecco,
Mm-hmm.
and so he said he's not going to let it worry him because they've got so much more potential and there's more to come. And then he goes out there, doesn't qualify good, doesn't pass anybody during the race.
Yep.
Just he's back there racing with these guys that Folger, Piro, these fill-in riders that are filling in for all the injured riders, and then there's Vinales in the middle of them.
Yep. Well, and finished in 12th.
We were just talking about it. I mean, how many crashes were there?
There was actually only 3.
3 crashes?
Marquez brothers and Miguel. So,
All right.
yeah, it'll be...
Those 3, well, with the exception of Miguel, those other 2 crashes, they meant more because they were out of podium potential spots when those 2 crashed.
Out of the front. Yep, both of them. Yeah. Well, and so, oh man, I don't know. Mark's got another full year,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we do have if we're continuing down that road, if we're gonna just hop on the bus and say that the Honda must be terrible, which I've got to believe at least half of that. With the way that, I mean, I know we're not a huge Mir fan over here, Joan Mir. Brins,
I said Petrucci was your boy last week, and you didn't like that.
yeah.
And today I was thinking about it, and I thought you can have Mir back if you want. I mean, one of those has got to be your boy. You pick your poison.
I think I'd rather have Mir, you know.
Really?
Yeah, he won a championship on a Suzuki. So you can talk whatever you want. You can blame it on whatever you want. He has a championship win.
All right. Well, you know how this works. Petrucci it is.
Yeah, sounds about right. But I don't know. I just keep thinking about it. I'm like afraid that, like I said earlier, Ducati's just going to end up filling the grid. They're just going to be like, yeah, we'll just throw another team. Who wants a bike? You know, and they're just going to start handing them out. And then the question there will be, will they do what Bagnaia wants and make the factory bikes have the advantage.
What we need to make you do in all your free time.
Yeah.
I go back. I brought this up before, but I go back. I want to know, somebody needs to put this in an Excel spreadsheet or something. I want to know if the Honda is slower than it was in the past, better or the same as it was in the past, or even slightly better than it was in the past. Like if you were to compare the Honda from Mark's last championship, if you took every track and said how fast, what was the lap times, what was
You
the
want
total race time?
you want lap time based?
Yeah, like compared to today, because what I want to know is the Honda really bad, or did everything else just get so much better that we're calling it bad?
I will do that research. That's my homework. I'll do that. I'll get those numbers for you, but I can come out and say I'm confident in saying that the Honda is faster right now than it was in 2019. Mark's like golden year, or one of his golden years anyway. He was leading a lot of those races by over 5 seconds. Like it seemed that year seemed like every week it was the race and then Mark up in the corner. He's got his own little TV going on. The lap times that they're putting down right now, I mean, he's beat records this year that have then been beaten again, right? But that right there will tell you the bike's faster. Now, to your point, have all the other bikes just gotten better? I think the Honda might have gotten faster, but taken the wrong line to get there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, same with the Yamaha.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I don't want to just all fill this up with football analogies, but it's kind of the same thing. There's anybody who makes it as an NFL quarterback, anybody who makes it to the NFL is good.
Yeah.
The worst quarterback in the NFL is extremely talented. The worst MotoGP rider is extremely talented. But when you put them in a field all together, it's easy to take the worst guy and say he's trash, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Coming
So
from me.
so kind of the same thing, you take Honda and say it's trash. And you're like, no, actually the bike's like better than it was in its glory days. It's a better bike. It's just the worst one on the grid. So we're calling it trash.
Yeah.
It's just not as good. It's a
Yeah,
different way of looking at it.
And that's the question too is it really basically what you're saying, is it really bad or has it just not quite caught up yet? And it really is what they're saying. They have to ride these things so far on the limit so much that the bike just can't take it. Which if you look at Mark's reaction today, that,
He didn't see it coming.
yeah, it looked like it just completely surprised him. And he's like, to me, and this is purely opinion here, but to me, it looked like he looked at his bike and was like, we've done this before and I've saved it or I've ridden it.
Right.
What is going on? I've been able to make a move like that before with zero issue.
It felt like he was intentionally wide to try to set up the next corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't he wasn't where he didn't want to be.
Yeah. It looked like he, had full, and it wasn't like I don't know, the dude's credit where credit's due. You want to talk about max lean angle in MotoGP. You want to talk about being able to turn a bike.
Oh, this is why we don't bring up Mark, because you always got to find some compliment to put his golden underwear on.
Well, no, I'm just saying that wreck looked like he had full confidence in everything he was doing, and then the bike just said, "Nah, we're not doing it." So, and who knows? I mean, there's always other.
Everything I do when I crash, I have full confidence. It's just you run out of talent sometimes.
Yeah, I seem to run out of tire. I always blame my bike. It's never me. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I hope, and I've said it before. I've said it plenty of times already. But I hope that Honda and Yamaha, not just Honda, not just Mark, even. It's not even where that's coming from. But I don't want it to be a top 8 Ducati. Yeah. There's no. At the same time, I caught myself thinking, I'm like, maybe we do just need a Ducati series. Let's just do 1 year.
Well,
let's find out who the best rider actually is. Give them all the same exact bike and let's do it. And then you can have like draft picks. What if we did what if we did a time attack? Bring in a BMW. Okay, hear me out.
Oh boy,
we got time. That's fine. Bring in a BMW. Pick a track that they don't actually race, and everyone gets to go out and do a time attack. Right? You get like 2 weeks where you get a whole day to yourself, and it's just like MotoGP draft. There's no contracts. There's just who wants to sign who for this year. Contracts for the year and payment amounts and whatever, they can bid on the riders or something like that. But completely different bike, completely different track, all to yourself. What can you actually do? And then the teams get to come out, analyze, and pick who they want.
Yeah. So you say that because you think Mark would excel in that scenario?
Not necessarily.
But that is part of it for you.
Sure.
You're leaving out the important part, though, and the reason they're racing in the first place. Race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how true that is in the world today anymore, but that's why corporations put big money out there. That's why they're putting their names on the side of the bikes in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but it's never worked in any other series.
Yeah, no,
Watch
it
this.
won't work, but it'd be fun.
Watch this. I'm going to switch it to cars.
Okay.
Le Mans is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen?
Le Mans.
Yeah, 24-hour race.
Yeah, there's no S when you say it, but it's okay.
Okay, fine. So, never mind. I won't say that. The I'm trying to make it sound as much not like Le Mans class.
Gotcha.
There's a NASCAR racing this year.
Yeah, I've seen it.
How awesome is that picture? Have you seen the picture of it, like in the crowd of cars? It looks
No,
like
I just saw a video of it driving around saying, "Yeah, we can turn right."
yeah. So there's a picture going around that has it just parked in a field of cars
Mm-hmm.
around it. That thing is so much taller than every other car that it's racing against. I mean, it looks like a lifted 4x4 out there among all them.
That's good. Well, do they not have a height requirement anymore, or maybe it was minimum height
On a
I'm just
NASCAR or
no on for Le Mans?
uh, I don't know. I can't remember what class it's racing in. They always have all the classes are mixed.
I guess I forget that it's not just one race, and it's yeah. All right.
But
I just know I'm just thinking back to my limited knowledge, but Ford GT40 was called the GT40 to say yes, it is 40 inches tall, because I think that must have been the minimum. They were trying to make it as short as possible.
right.
Don't quote me on that. We might be visiting a certain corner next week. We'll find out.
But it looks awesome. It's got Jimmy Johnson, 6-time NASCAR champion. It's a 3-man team driving the car, but Jimmy's one of them. They switch out drivers.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you know any of the other two?
I do actually. I can't recall who they were now, but
Okay.
when I
I
read
just
the names, I knew who they were.
It's kind of funny. I mean, Jimmy Johnson, if you have watched any NASCAR, I feel like that name's, which for a good reason, right? But
Yeah, absolutely.
just kind of funny. People that,
He raced the Lowe's car before they were going out of business.
yep, I do remember that.
Well, back to motorcycles.
Yeah.
You want the diversity. I want a bunch of different bikes. That's why I kind of went there. In NASCAR, they're all the same shaped car and they just put different stickers on them to make them look like a Camry, a Mustang, or a Camaro.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely don't want that. The side effect is Ducati's going to win last year, this year, maybe the next couple years, and somebody will figure something out and pass them. There's always going to be maybe a bike that has an advantage.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Honda had their time also, right?
Oh yeah. Honda's had a lot of their time, right? And so I guess that is the funny part. But I just don't like Ducati that much. That's why I'm complaining about it. Credit where credit's due. They're doing it. Also, I think one of my bigger issues. Well, and it's not an issue. I can't be mad because, like I said, you got to give it to Ducati. They built a bike. They finally did it. They have the power and they have the handling. Like it used to be this talk of, oh, the Yamaha will catch up now. They've got the agility, right? And different things like that. But now it's just, yep, the Ducati's gone.
Yep.
There's no that doesn't really. It's no longer the Yamaha's got the handling. They'll catch up. It's now the Yamaha's terrible, and that guy's riding it on the edge, right? Which just means that Ducati has figured it out. Which that's the weird part too, is that I haven't really heard they say that, but not like maybe just because I'm not listening right. But I feel like they don't. They talk about Ducati's happy and they're winning and they've got their Italian on their Italian bike and they just won in Italy. That's awesome. That's great. But they don't really come out and just be like, what a bike. What, like, Ducati's insane. You got to give it to them. They've done it. Yeah, who knows? They could hold it for the next 5 years. We'll see. But keynote, who was there this weekend?
Rossi.
That everyone expected, right? When the amount of yellow smoke still in the crowd, I'm like, oh man, that guy will never die. 9-time world champion, right? Arguably, numbers wise, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time as of right now. Only 7 wins in Italy in his career. I bring that up because who did Rossi ride for the most part? Yamaha. Rode for Ducati for like, what, a year? And then just said, this ain't working. Sorry, boys, but I got to stick with my Yamaha. And he was on Honda way back in the day. But only 7 wins at his home track in Italy. I think, and I'd have to do some research to back this up, but Mugello is a speed-happy track.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
So
it's
the
all flowing
Ducatis-
corners. There's no first gear corners on that track.
Yeah. So the Ducati should have big advantage there. And it's their home track, There's no way they don't do more testing there than anywhere else.
I believe it used to be their home testing track. It's not anymore, but it was
Okay.
for years and years. But that was some of the argument that people were making, that this was because Quattraro usually does well there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that because you don't have to go down to first gear and then slam it down the straight again, that
Right.
Yamaha was going to have the advantage. But
Weird.
that sure didn't show up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people are hoping Quattraro comes back around. I hope he does, just to make it more interesting.
Yeah. Well, I caught myself thinking this week that he's DNF'd quite a few already this year. And, he's sitting behind Morbidelli. And I was like, has the dude just, I don't want to say given up, because you can see him out there pushing it. But if he didn't make it, he didn't make it into Q1, or sorry, Q2 automatically. And then he didn't finish in the top 2 in Q1. So he didn't make it to Q2. Did he just say, all right, I'm just going to ride the race, keep the bike upright, no point in injuring myself, right? Which at the beginning, I thought I was expecting Mark to do the same thing, because next week is Germany.
Right.
If you got any hopes for Mark this year, well, I think that'll be the key, right? I mean, the dude, if there was a track that you had to say he should win that one, that's it, right? And there's just, for whatever reason. So we'll see how that goes. That'd be kind of interesting to, see the turnout. I kind of get this feeling he's going to wreck again and be extremely, extremely upset, because that was his one chance at a win this year. So,
yeah. Well, let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Jack Thriller Miller.
yeah,
What's
he
going
finished the
on with this
race.
guy?
He spends too much time yelling at everyone else. I love Jack, but I just, when he,
Running around riling everybody up.
well, no, so Alex was in the wrong there. Absolutely came over on top of him, but there was no damage done. Right, both riders rode it out. I would 100% put the blame on Alex. Yep, absolutely. Then Miller, turns around, throws his hand up. I'm like, come on, dude, just go ride. You don't have time to be doing stuff like that.
So you said something a while back to the effect of, if you can take your hand off the handlebar, turn around, yell at somebody in the middle of a race,
Mm-hmm.
you're not trying a hard enough focus forward.
Yep.
And I just let you say that. I don't know that I had an opinion at that time. But
Okay.
when I seen Jack do that today, that's what struck. I was like, dude, you have been like, I love Jack, but he was riding. I don't know if he was on the race line once in those first 3 laps. He was just wide.
Yeah.
He was aggressive. He was trying to, I mean, he had the lead there for a second.
About
He
two.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, well, he was throwing everything at it, but the result of that was he was everywhere. He was all over the place. And I was thinking, and then he was holding everybody up for a while there, wouldn't let
Mm.
anybody get around him. And I don't think he should, right? His job is to not let people pass him. So
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. But then when he gets bumped, he's
Yeah.
like, he's screaming and yelling. I'm like, I don't know, bud. You were
Okay. Yeah. So one of all the people, it weirds me out that he gets mad, because I would put Jack Miller as a dude that's, Rubbin's racing. You're good. Let's move on with the day and go about our day. Right.
Yep.
That's always what I've pictured his attitude to be, but he keeps doing that,
I
getting
think it's
upset.
Aleix asparagus disease just running rampant in the pits. If you get yelled at by Aleix every single weekend, eventually you just start yelling at the other guy next to you.
Oh man, get him out of there.
Oh,
He's
what about
done.
Pecco yelling at your boy Mark?
Oh, that was funny. That was funny. What would I got to hear your opinion on it? Who was in the wrong? Or, well, okay, there's only one person that could have been in the wrong, but
I didn't get the reaction because obviously that's where people are coming on the track.
yeah,
Yes, he was on a fast lap, but Mark was way out ahead of him. I mean, even when he was throwing his arm up, the camera angles it's showing him, and he's a corner ahead of him.
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't think that he actually slowed him down. I don't know that he was like trying to jump on a racing line. He was probably going to get out of the way and try jumping on his tail, because that's what he does.
So he specifically wasn't doing that, and he went up to Pecco after and said, "I wasn't looking for you. Like, I'm sorry, I wasn't out there looking for you," because he gets crap for tailing people, which is really funny to me, because like, sorry that he has tactic that he uses, which is perfectly
So
allowed.
I think it's funny at times. You remember last year or the year before, there was a couple races there where people would be like pulled over to the side of the track screaming at him, and he would just look straight forward and ignore them. And then the
Yep.
guy'd start driving, and he'd just go right behind him again.
Yep.
And that cracks me up.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know. I think there's a fine line. You remember Jack did this to him?
Yeah.
You want to follow me? You got to pay me.
Mm-hmm.
And he just thought it was all fun. It is interesting. And Mark did there was an interview with him this weekend talking about it. And he said that was one of his strong points. The ability, he made the argument that other riders don't know how to use the draft the way he does. And
It
it's a
kind of
tool
seems
in
that
his
way.
toolbox.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but that's what I was just saying. No one's telling anyone else that they can't.
Sometimes I'm against him on it. In some circumstances, it sucks. Sometimes he plays it too hard, I
Yeah.
think. And he plays it too hard in the way that, let's say Pecco's trying to get the pole
Mm-hmm.
and he's only got time for one more lap.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mark jumps on him. It's a tactic, right? He jumps
Mm-hmm.
on him knowing that he's got to do a lap. It's got to be frustrating for the guy in the front that's, doing everything he can to get the pole, knowing that the faster you go, you either got to go
Faster the
so
guy
fast,
behind you. Yep.
he's just going to come across the line and steal it from you.
Yep. Right. But I would
And
say again,
I've seen it happen a couple times though, where, and it's all tactics, but I've seen it happen a couple times where the rider already has the pole and he's trying to
mm-hmm.
improve on that time. And Mark jumps on this guy that has the pole, follows him across and gets the pole because
Yeah.
he's following him. And that guy should have just slowed down
Yeah, and just kept it.
and he would have had the pole. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little, I don't know.
I don't have an issue with it only because there's nothing stopping anyone else from doing it. And other people have done it. Mark does it like
Everybody does it.
every time, right? But
Everybody
other
does it.
people, yeah, other people have done it plenty of times. Mark just gets kind of in that picture frame, if you will. But that this weekend, that lap specifically, I saw him coming out. He was chasing Bezecchi, so I saw him coming out, and then I saw Bagnaia coming up, and then I didn't think anything was. I figured Bagnaia would just go around because from my angle view, Mark took the correct track entry, and you're in qualifying, so people are allowed to enter the track. And then Bagnaia saw him and just said, "I'm done. What are you doing? You're in my way."
Yeah, I think he let off way too early. Again, I'm not on the bike, and I'm sure the closing speed was probably insane.
Oh yeah.
And he would have had a better view, of course, of what dangers he may have been approaching in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
But it did feel like he let off prematurely and just started complaining about his
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. That's what it looked like to me. I was laughing the whole time because I'm like, he was on the correct from like I said, from everything I could tell, he was on the correct track entry line, and then Pecco just didn't want to ride through it. I'm like,
Well,
you're
in
out
that
there.
scenario, though, did Mark not jump on him and end up following him?
Oh yeah.
And
After
almost did exactly what I was talking about. He
almost very close.
almost stole the pole from him.
Yeah.
But he didn't have a choice at that point. He just had to go. And the tactics are fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all part of what makes it exciting within reason. I think sometimes he gets a little, if somebody's that adamant about not wanting you to follow him, then in a race, all bets are off, right? But in qualifying, maybe let him go be a sissy. I don't know. Find somebody else to follow.
I don't know. I don't.
When he followed Maverick Vinales around and was in his head, I mean, that was just comical. That was
Yeah.
pure comic relief when, or Aleix will just start throwing a fit.
Yeah. Well, Elise would throw a fit about anything.
Aleix is the only guy that said hi to him in the hospital. You seen the show?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
He
Yeah.
was the only guy that cared about Mark when he went down.
I just want to touch on this too. Did you see though? I know we kind of threw this off already, but going right back to that real quick. Bagnaia threw his hands up, whatever, right? Did you see him dive it inside of him?
Mm-hmm.
It looked. He's lucky both of them can ride because
So,
had he wrecked that guy out, I don't know.
so the Moto3 race today.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on this one either, but the announcers threw out some stat for Mugello for Moto3
Right.
that was ridiculous. They said So excited to get Mugello going. They've never had a race finish more than like 0.170 between first and second
Wow. Okay.
because it's such a flowing track. Everybody just drafts, and
Yeah.
it's one of those tracks where those guys, you don't want to necessarily be in the lead coming around that last corner type thing.
Okay. Yep.
But there was 5 guys that broke away for most of that race, and it was a great race, great battle between 5 bikes. And
Mm-hmm.
they were switching, and one KTM guy couldn't get away from him. Every time they go down the straight, he'd get blown down. So you could tell he was just trying to figure out, like, what can I do? I don't want to be leading. How do I get in the back? I think it looked like he intentionally, when he got past, when he came into a corner, he intentionally cut off like the 4th place rider
Mm-hmm.
and slowed down to create a gap intentionally.
Okay.
And it almost caused some bad things to happen. They gave him warning for bad behavior. You
Yeah.
know, a light lights up on their dash, right?
Yep.
5 bikes. The screen just went rider number D, warning. Rider number D, warning. It did 5 bikes, just boom,
Just
boom,
all of
boom.
them, huh?
It was on like with 2 to go. MotoGP knew that something bad's about to happen here, so let's throw them
Right.
all a warning and see if we can get them to calm down, which they did not. That was also a good race.
Well, and speaking of warnings, Luca Marini, his long lap? No, Brad. Yeah, it was Brad. Brad Binder. Yep, that's who I'm thinking of. He has amazed me this year. Let's just put it that way. Coming into the
Maybe
year,
he deserved a 4-year contract.
I, I don't know. But coming into the year, I wasn't expecting anything from Brad, to be honest with you. And it's confusing because part of me wants to be like, well, did KTM just kick it up a notch and now they've got a bike, and so Brad's a pretty good rider with a pretty good bike, so he's doing pretty good. But Jack's over there, and
I don't know.
he might have wrecked a lot on the Ducati, but you can't argue that he was plenty good on the Ducati.
As much as I hate
Anyway,
to say it, what you're gonna say is Brad has outperformed Jack.
I wasn't even actually going to get to that.
He has. Brad has outperformed Jack pretty much weekly on
I would
everything
I wanted
but qualifying.
Yeah, I wanted he's been there 3 years. I would
Yeah.
hope so.
Yeah,
Like
agreed
he's grown with the bike. I think most of what's been done to the bike has been probably
for him.
yeah, right. So, yeah, absolutely. The fact that Jack came out and did anything this year, especially so quickly, I was expecting more like post summer break, right? Around the Australia time frame.
Right.
Jack will come into it and figure it out, and then right off the bat, he's going nuts. And what is with their launch?
It's awesome.
Those bikes can freaking launch. Like,
They've definitely got that dialed.
yeah, I don't know. They almost don't have to worry about qualifying because they can just grab 5 places and go. Like, well, not go, but grab 5 places and then figure something else out to not quite stay up there. But anyway, I don't know. I think Aprilia needs to find a couple new guys.
Well, one of them's gonna retire probably. There's
Well,
a good
and
spot for Mark.
it might be. I've thought that plenty of times. Trust me. I've been like, he needs to just hop over there. I don't know. Honestly, I'm going to go ahead and put this out there. I think that it's over 50% chance that Mark would just retire after 2024 if Honda can't give him a bike. There's a higher, only barely. I had to rethink myself for a second because I don't want to say, yep, this is what he's going to do. But I think there is a chance. I think it might be over 50%.
Do you think it's because he's engaged, not engaged?
Part of it, maybe.
So we did have a brief conversation this week, and you had made a comment about if he does bad, they'll bring that up.
Yeah,
If he does good, they'll bring it up, but they will bring it up. They
they
brought it up
didn't.
the first interview.
Ah,
The
uh-huh.
very first interview of the weekend, they're like, "Your personal life, you're having some fun off the track, you some exciting news you got." And he said it wasn't an engagement.
Okay.
It's the
All
way I
right.
understood what he said. It was just a ring.
Yep. Okay.
So
It was his sister.
wrong guy.
Oh, yeah. Weird.
Wrong guy. And you got to be careful when you say that at a track because fans of that guy get angry if you say that out loud in a crowd.
Oh, you have experience here, or
Yeah, Coda last year,
huh?
or
All
not the
right.
last one, the one before.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I popped off with something about that, and the guy turned around in that guy's clothes from top to bottom
Mm-hmm.
and started like yelling at me all the reasons that wasn't true. And I mean, he was going as far as saying it's not his sister, it's not through blood, it's through
Okay. Usually when you have to defend something that much, it's because there's some
There's at least a nugget of truth in there, right?
yeah, somewhere. Something somewhere. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I just anyway, we don't need to hash that out anymore, but
So what do you think? Pecco wins the championship. Time to pack it in. Everybody head home.
no, absolutely not.
Who's going to do something with him?
The other Ducatis.
Bezecchi?
Yeah. I think I don't know that someone will outride him. I think that other people will be what's the word? I'm reckless around him. He's lucky. He's a very talented rider and he's very good at no matter what's going on in front or around him. He is good at navigating and remaining the robot, right? He has this weird algorithm over here that analyzes these guys are being reckless and crazy. I will wait it out. Okay, now I will go. And, he's good. He's good. Absolutely. The guy's got talent. But I do think I'm not quite really ready to just, zip up the bags, go home, not watch any more races, and just look at the standings the rest of the year and watch him climb because the
Well,
other
I'd watch
Ducatis
either way
can
because I
be.
got to see who's second.
But I think the other Ducatis can be right there with them, and I think they're not the robot, and so they're more likely to do some reckless stuff. Not like purposely bin it or anything like that, but cause some disruption. So
So
we've seen it already this year.
Pecco's has proven that he can make mistakes.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know, I'm starting to get the feeling maybe he's out of mistakes. He's got them out of his system. But when Bezecchi was close to him, that's when you start seeing him sweat. When he gets, I think if Mark Marquez was beating him, that would be a completely different scenario. But it's when another Italian rider on the same equipment as him starts beating him, you don't have excuses at that point. He got pressure from Bastianini last year. That was what we were all looking forward to see how he handled that pressure this year.
Still hoping for it.
Yeah, I still think it could get there, but nobody's mathematically eliminated at this point.
Yeah.
Hell, I seen Mark was 18th in the points. I think he's 18th in the points.
When you don't finish any races, yeah.
Yeah, he won a sprint. Did he win the sprint?
No, it was
He was on
second
the
or third.
podium in a sprint.
Yeah.
So he's gathered a few points in sprint races. Yeah, he's like 18th. I mean, he's definitely not mathematically out of it, but
No, so championship wise, Bastianini, no. Anyone besides, oh, I don't know. It's never like out of it, right? I could see a KTM, low possibility of a KTM.
I don't know. Brad Binder's, he lost some more points again today, but he's staying right up there in the mix. And freaking Jack would be there too if he quit DNFing.
Yeah.
That's why I keep saying about him this year more than any other year. I'd rather have him come finish 11th on those off weeks, instead of pushing for every pace, which is what I love about him. On the flip side, I just wish he'd settled for an 11th or whatever it was and quit putting in the gravel.
Yeah, it's interesting. I also love Jack. I love watching him ride. That guy can ride, and he cracks me up. But like we already said, I was getting a little upset. I was like, dude, yeah, that guy bumped into you. But when other people get bumped into in a race, they continue racing.
Yeah,
Go hash it out afterward.
He was driving a bit like a maniac today.
Yeah. Also that, he was not, like you said, he wasn't necessarily following everything perfectly himself.
So in qualifying, he didn't. Jack's always good for Q2,
Right.
and he had to come out of Q1 and just barely. It was like one lap he just threw in there right at the end, to make it through. And then Q2 didn't. What did you expect? I guess, but Q2 he wasn't on the front row.
Yep.
In the sprint race, he was a bit out of control that same way. It was like he was. I don't know that a flowing track is his strong point, and he was trying to make.
Yeah.
He was trying to make that flowing track a stop and go track the way he was picking lines. I don't know.
Well, and what about Jorge Martin, your boy, your favorite?
Dang it. If I got to take him, then we might have to renegotiate. I don't want that guy on my team.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's always been fast for one lap.
Yeah.
If he can just quit crashing,
He took second today.
Well,
He's been doing it. That's what I'm saying. He's kind of starting to. So I think the tell of this season will be, can Bagnaia continue to pull the lead like he has been able to a couple times? I think one of Bagnaia's issues, and he's starting to be better about that. He was always like a weekend warm up. They've talked about that plenty of times, and it was pretty clear too. He would maybe qualify well, right? And then the race, he would do really well. I think for him to take the championship by a landslide or to just solidify it. He needs a couple more races where he just gets out away from everyone, right? Because that'll prevent that recklessness causing issues that I was talking about. For that to happen, he has to continue qualifying well, which he's proven now that he can do it. And then he's kind of readopted you can't be a warm up to Sunday guy anymore because there's a sprint on Saturday and
Yep.
that has points associated with it. So you don't have time for that. But I think because Jorge was on a soft rear and
Yep.
Bagnaia had a medium, and until late in the race, Jorge was not like up on him, gonna pass him, but he was right there with him.
Yeah, he was keeping pace.
And so part of me wants to say that if he had had a medium, it might have been a different story. The other part of me wants to say it's only because he had the soft that he was up there in the first place. We know he's a good, one lap guy. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but he's doing better than I expected. Saw him up there in second, and I have expected him to just dump it at some point.
I actually expected him to do better this year, but the year's early. He's definitely a championship contender. He's
Yeah.
in that top 5 in points. Like I said, that's why you got Bezecchi's still in striking distance. Brad Binder's in striking distance. Jorge Martin's in striking distance. Actually, Johann Zarco is.
Yeah, he keeps doing that late race catch up thing, and
He
sometimes
looks
it's like from 10th to 5th.
so.
Sometimes it's just catching up
He,
to the front.
he's 32 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
I would have thought he'd be older than that, but
Because he acts like an old man when he comes off the bike. Everybody else is celebrating. He seems so exhausted. It don't every race. He seems so exhausted. It just his
uh,
personality is kind of that way.
yeah.
So I'm sure some of it's that, but he'll even admit it in interviews, like, "Oh, I was pushing so hard. I'm just so tired." I don't think that's why he falters the second part of the year. He does not have the stamina the other
Hmm.
guys have. I don't think.
That's kind of funny. I've never actually really paid attention to that, but I'll have to keep an eye out for it.
He showed up today. So after the race, they do the interviews with the 3 top riders.
Hmm.
Bagnaia comes in late because he's got the Italian flag tied around his neck, and he's been out partying and eating hot dogs or whatever. They had a barbecue on the side of the track.
Yeah.
So he came in late, but they put the microphone on him, and then he makes sure to zip his suit back up on top of the microphone because it's got to show the Lenovo, which is a
Right.
computer company, as we established,
Not a monkey.
not a monkey.
Like a
So
bonobo, which isn't a bonobo.
he zips it back up, and then it pans over to Zarco. Zarco was in flip flops, shorts, and a Pramac shirt, exhausted.
It's like, can we get this over with? I gotta go sit down. It's
Yeah,
lounge time. Race is done. I did my job.
I don't know. He's a little bit of a different feller.
So I would, for the season moving forward, Bagnaia, I think most likely, yeah, absolutely. If I was gonna put my money, if someone said you had to bet today, I'd put it there for sure. Yeah, him, Jorge, Bezecchi, and Zarco. I don't think so. I'm never
Neither
gonna
do I.
bet on him. I don't. I think he'll fall back out. I think he'll be in the top 10 for sure, probably in the top 6, 5 or 6, but I want to put him at the top. I think we have a summer break coming up. And bikes always change over the summer break. And I don't think Aprilia is going to come and do anything, unfortunately. By that, I mean the riders. I honestly think that Aprilia has given them a bike. They've shown that. They've shown that it's rideable and it's rideable to a pretty high level, but no one can quite do it or wants to do it. I don't know. But I think that KTM can do something, both Jack and Bender, but definitely like Bender's been that little South African kid. He's freaking nuts. Sliding that rear tire around, moving the bike, like he looks like he's got some agility out of nowhere. And maybe that's just because he's doing well enough that I see him now. I think if he can keep his head on his shoulders and learn when to send it and when to stick it. So I think that's Pecco's biggest advantage is that, yeah, he wants to win, but at the same time, he is definitely thinking about the championship.
Oh, for
And so
sure.
he would rather finish a race than win. Right. And then that's the fight is I want to win the race. And that's the most points. But at the end of the day, if there's no chance of it, ride safe enough that you finish the race so you get some points. Right. And then, I mean, you go back to
Yeah, type
Joan
that up.
Mir.
Send it to Jack.
Yeah. Okay. Send him a letter. He just needs to listen to the podcast,
Yes.
I'll just send him a link. But yeah, you go back to Jean Mir in 2020 on the Suzuki, and he didn't win that many races that year.
I think it was only one.
It was more than one, but it wasn't many. But he consistently finished in the top 5 and finished and won a championship, right? So you don't have to win races necessarily to win a championship because people are going to DNF. The reason I put my money on Bagnaia is that he can do both. He can win, and I think he will win a lot of races, and there's a very reasonable chance. But let's put it this way, that the KTMs can come from 10th to the front on the start, right? If they hit that right. Not quite 10th, but from pretty far back. That causes enough disruption that it lets the other guys be up there in the front. So that's why I would say that it's not necessarily Bagnaia. I don't have a word for that. Sorry.
Yeah, well,
take off, I guess.
that's enough of MotoGP. They're going to
Sounds
Germany
good.
next week.
Yep.
Mark gets to redeem himself, potentially.
Maybe. We'll see.
Alex, good for one more crash.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if it ain't him, somebody will hit him. So
Yeah. Probably.
and then when you read the little ticker during the race, it says Marquez.
That has been
I did see that.
the story of the year. Anyway,
We'll see what happens over there. Bring up that picture as we're switching subjects here.
okay.
I'm taking a poll
All right.
of one.
Let's see. Present. Share screen.
Do I need this bike in my life? That's a
Are you
question.
asking my opinion?
Yeah.
Give me the stats. It looks
So
extremely small.
1170 cc's.
Okay, not extremely small. Got it.
Opposing, it's a boxer engine.
Yep.
109 horsepower.
Torque.
I don't have a torque number, but it red lines at 7250.
Okay. All right.
So torque number's got to be relative. Torque number's got to be pretty high.
I've never ridden anything with a boxer, and yeah, you need it. I want to ride it.
What do you think that bike cost? New.
14, 15.
15 and change.
Okay.
So that's a BMW R9T Racer.
Specifically the racer, huh?
Yes.
What makes it the racer?
The fairings.
Okay.
The little speed bubble.
Got it.
So there's 4 different versions of it. If you just type in R9T, the one that comes up most common in the US is it looks like a dirt bike version of that. It's god awful. Anyway, I just found one of those with 2,000 miles over in California.
Okay. How much?
12 grand.
That's not bad. So Triumph, right? They came out with their Speed Triple RS in that kind of cafe racer look.
Yeah.
I like it. And this is giving me that same kind of vibe. I've seen the BMWs before similar to this. The boxer engine always looks so weird, but so cool at the same time. Just like from the
Agreed.
side angle that you had, it doesn't give it the best. But when you look at those head on, there's just these two freaking big old things sticking out the side. So
That bike would be awesome little burn around town bike. But how many
11
burn around town bikes can you have?
1170 little burn around town bike. Yep.
What?
No,
You
I
can't
agree.
take it to the race. It probably only has a 30-degree lean angle before the cases start rubbing the ground.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I want to
That-
say I've seen them out there before, and they actually get after it. But
Part of why they quit putting it in the was a predecessor to the S1000.
I don't know the model, but
I can't remember what that was called, but that's what.
yeah. Well, and I'm trying to think because they love them in their dual sports because they're supposed to be more stable, and in the dual sports, I'm pretty sure they sit a little lower than what this looks like it does. I'd have to compare them side by side, but
I wouldn't think so because they got the giant tires on those things.
yeah, that's true. No, it's a good looking bike for sure. I like the old cafe, speed bubble kind of look. I like it with new technology.
Right.
That's what because you can go buy any old bike you want and build yourself a sweet cafe racer. But I like when they put that fairing on the front and then you have all the nice technology. Just not even like I don't need all the electronics that keep the bike upright. I just want the nice stuff, digital dash and whatnot.
You understand that cafe racers is the reason we can't find any good old bikes anymore.
Yeah, well, that and bobbers, I would say also.
Yeah. Every kid in America decided he was going to have one of them, so he hacksawed some nice bike in half.
Yeah. Well, we're about to not find any sport bikes anymore because everyone's going to take them to the sand dunes in Moab.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like, huh?
Yeah. I don't know.
Converting
I've
them
only
into
seen
snowmobiles.
I've only seen the one guy. Oh, yeah, the snowmobiles. That one's. I forgot about that. That's quite a few. That's quite a few different ones. I guess that changes my mind. So I was gonna say I've only seen the one guy with that R6 down at Moab and at the sand dunes and whatnot. But now that you bring up the snowmobiles, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the other one been going around that's like mudding.
Yep. I want to say that was the same R6.
It might be, but
I think that guy's just been going everywhere, doing
if
everything.
that's all the same R6, then kudos to Yamaha. I take everything back.
Yeah. I don't know.
Guess what? My local first gen S1000 with 4,000 miles, just price reduced, 8,500.
Ooh, that with the title?
As far as I know,
like street bike, not track.
Like unmolested. It's got 3,862 miles according to the ad. It's a 2010.
Are you about to tell me you about to tell me you bought it?
Not yet. Maybe it's going to go 7,500.
Well, okay. I expect to see it behind your camera there next week.
I'm watching it. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't find a good reason not to.
Well,
It's a wall hanger, if nothing else.
Yeah. No, they've got a weird. I mean, they were.
If you were a bike collector, which I'm only accused of that, I'm not actually one.
Mm-hmm,
If
sure.
I was a bike collector, that bike I think is a collectible bike because first gen
Absolutely.
changed everything, low miles. I mean, it's not quite, in the crate,
Yeah.
but might as well be.
What
Not
is
even
it?
broken.
Is it 2010 or 09?
This is a 10.
Okay. No, that generation, yeah, absolutely, definitely a collectible bike. And the sad part about saying that is that it's still a very rideable bike.
Absolutely.
Like you
I hope
definitely,
so.
well, like you see an old, mid 2000s R1 or Gixxer 1000 or CBR 1000 especially, and you're like, okay, yeah, not quite there. But even those old S1000s, you pull that up next to a brand new V4R, and it's still, I mean, it's iconic, but it's not old iconic, if that makes sense.
Yep. I agree.
And it looks different enough from the newest generation that I don't think that'll ever really change. So, because in my head, they're like two different bikes. The new generation one is, yeah, it's still an S1000, but it's completely different animal. I think the last one was more of an animal.
Man, I didn't
So,
need help getting talked into it, but it's working.
what can I say? What can I say? Well, speaking of new bikes that are that iconic, new, expensive, not mid 2000s Japanese leader bikes, the Aprilia is back together.
Yeah, I seen that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's, if you guys haven't seen it, it's already out. When this comes out, it'll be out tomorrow for us, but Mondays when we release those videos. Got it all back together, via interesting means, but I wanted to ride it, and I didn't wanna wait around until I bought all the fairing pieces, so I did what I needed to do, and I've gone out and tested, and I think everything's gonna hold together plenty well. Doesn't look the best. There's some scratches. There's some beat up on it. I don't mind riding it like that too much because I put it down. So I'll live with my guilt.
I get up before I get down.
Yeah. But no, it was nice. Except that, so I rode it to work yesterday, and I came home, and once again I was like, super bikes are stupid. These things are so dumb.
Yeah, there's a
Uh,
reason. There's a reason they're not selling them.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like if your goal in life is to go 100 and whatever miles an hour down the freeway weaving through traffic, go buy one. Yep, they're great. If that's not your goal in life, still go buy one. They're great. I'm never gonna tell someone not to buy one, but I just every time I go ride it, I'm like, man, I can't redline 2 gears in a row without breaking
Well,
the law. Okay, yeah, whatever. Can't even get close to redline in first gear without breaking the law anywhere in America. So
you redline 2 gears, it's a prison sentence.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just breaking the law. Prison sentence, you don't have time to react to literally anything anymore. Like, it's just they're beyond. And I caught myself on my way home. I was just laughing because I hit this long straight stretch, and I was like, "Daily 100? Question mark? No." And then I just rode right, and so I'm sitting there in like fifth gear doing 65, just hanging out. And I was just laughing at myself because I was like, in my head, one of my dreams in life, if you will, is to have a very nice car, right? It's all of those supercars that you always look at. Ferrari, I've never wanted one, but Ferrari, Lamborghini, for me, it's Pagani, personally. Bugatti, if you will, if you want to spend the real money. But I laughed because I'm like, that's what these things are in the bike world, and even in the world period, not on the money standpoint, but when it comes to the speed, that's what it is. And I was like, if I went and got like something reasonable, say like a McLaren 720 or something along those lines.
Reasonable for who? Sorry, go ahead. You're talking out in the weeds though, because
I
somebody's
know,
going to
yeah,
get
I know I'm way out there, but
reasonable.
well, it's not over $1 million. You could pick one
Again,
of those. You could pick.
reasonable. I mean, we're
You could
on
pick one of those
Metro
up
money
for.
over here.
Says the guy about to pick up another freaking S1000.
What do you do?
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was just laughing because I was like, I don't think I ever would after riding super bikes on the road. Because if I buy a car like that, I'm gonna want to take it to the track, and if I drive that thing into the dirt, I'm gonna be so
Yeah.
upset. Who knows? I would love to know the price. Let us know in the comments. What's the price of the undercarriage like cover on a supercar? Any car over $250,000. I want to know because you're gonna wreck that if you go off the track. And I have this feeling that that piece of plastic, which is actually probably carbon fiber for whatever reason, is probably half the price of the car. Anyway, like I said, caught myself sitting there thinking, I was like, these things are so dumb. Why do I've got to get it back to the track, and that's the goal. We're gonna go find a racetrack where she can stretch out a little bit, open up, have some fun. We're gonna put new tires on first.
Well, put that thing on Old Dominion and get it shipped over here.
I wasn't gonna blame the tires. I completely thought it was my fault. And I got so many comments about the tires on the video. I was like, okay, yep, it was the tires.
Don't let him off that easy, people.
No, I was doing some more research there because I was just like trying to decide, do I go straight Dunlop Q5 or do I go, it's Italian, so she deserves a Pirelli. Do I go back to Metzler and try their track day tire, if you will, or do I need to go for something still more street kind of oriented? Read an article on the Q5S that I think that's where I'm going to end up at.
Go check out Ryan Fortnine's new video.
Okay.
He's got a new video on cheap tires, or to battle inflation, what tires should you be buying?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a section in there that says a Q5 is a complete waste of money. He says you should just buy a Q5S because Q5S is DOT approved. It's blah 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 blah. And he said if you're gonna buy a Q5, just get a slick and be done with it.
Slicks are cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Like
But
the Dunlop slick is cheaper than the Dunlop Q5.
so go check out that video. Everybody should go check it.
Yeah, I'll have to go watch it because the argument there is that Q5 you don't need tire warmers.
So he was talking about how they achieve that. We always talk about the carbon black that they put in the tires and all that. He said Dunlop actually has carbon R that they put in the tires, and he said that's the trick to getting them. He said they're heated up in four corners, and it's not. It's because of this carbon R that they put in there. Anyway, it's a good video. He goes into it much better than I ever would, of course.
Yeah, I'll have to go check it out. Yeah, I've read a similar. Well, the article was actually just a test of Q5S versus Q5 and comparing it to the Q3 Plus and the Q4. So a lot of people are asking Dunlop, like, well, what are you doing? Because they just missed the old tires and they haven't. It's not enough. They don't think it's enough of a change to warrant a new name. Like you should have done another year of research and build and testing before you actually put it on the market, if you will.
So my history isn't that long on the track.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really have a comment on that other than I started on a Q3 Plus, went to a Q4 and felt the Q4 was much, much better. And then I went to a Q5 and I don't know that I felt a big change going from a Q4 to a Q5.
Right.
I haven't run enough sets to have proven, but I'm hoping they hold up a little longer. Because my only complaint with a Q4 is, I'll wear them out in a day.
We'll get back to you guys on that. We'll keep you updated. But the article that I read said they won't. And may or may not have talked to a certain person somewhere that also said the same thing. I don't want to give details, but we've gotten multiple different places. We've gotten some insight on that. And not that I'm not trying to down talk the Q5. Just if you're going into it for tire life, that's not necessarily. I don't know how many people are buying Q5s for tire life anyway. But the S, life expectancy not that much longer, but performance at end of life better, was what this article was saying. They said even on the track, I would take a Q5S over a Q5 because at the end of the day, if I'm on the edge of the tire or on the edge of life of the tire, the Q5S holds steady, and the Q5 got all kind of slippery and could felt like the end of the tire. I might pick a set of those up, the S's, and try them out. Definitely need something. Like I said, I'm just full blaming the tire now. You guys told me it was the tire, and so it's the tire, and we'll move on with life and call it good.
The only way I'm letting you use that excuse is if you let me use some of mine.
Like what?
I don't know. I'll come up with one though.
You're young and in shape, and the Huskies get so much
young,
power.
In shape. Next time I put one down, I'm just gonna say there was a dandelion on the track, and you have to accept that.
A dandelion. Okay, I got it. Sounds good. I don't know. I want to put new tires on because I want to see if that was what it was. Because before I put it down, I had some complaints about the bike. I was feeling everything. I also think that might have been those tires, but I don't know if it's just because it's heavier or where you sit on the bike, the fact that that tank has the higher or more surface area on the side. But I felt like I could lean that quicker, easier, further than I ever have been able to the Gixxer. I am excited to get back out there on some real sticky stuff and see if that makes a difference, and then see what it's actually like. That's about all I got.
All right. Well, let's let these people go.
All right. Sounds good. What do we got? How many days?
Well, it's 25 last time, so it's got to be
18, less than 3 weeks.
Less than 3 weeks.
Less than 3 weeks
Less than 3 weeks because I'm calling it 2 weekends to get my stuff together.
to get all the dandelions off the track.
Get all the dandelions off the track. We got new brake pads for the brick.
All right, sharp brick,
The brick's gonna stop. The brick's gonna go.
dude. I hope that your 2010 S1000 is ready for what that brick is going to put down. I'll see you on the straight.
It is. I'll
Oh.
see you on the straight.
Will you? I don't know what I just said, man. I will see you on the straight. You'll see me in turn 1. How about that? Or turn 2, I think. I don't remember. It's been a minute. It's been
All
what,
right.
2 years? So
Well, like you said, your Prilly video comes out tomorrow, which will be a couple days ago by the time people are listening to this. But
yep, go
appreciate
check it out.
everybody subscribing. Please keep doing that. Tell your friends.
Yeah, comment. Give us some feedback. I'm gonna call everyone out. If you're listening here and you're not following us on Instagram, if you don't have Instagram, that's fine. If you're not a big social media guy, I get it. But if you're following us on Instagram, send us some messages. Let us know what you want to hear. We're covering racing. We're covering what we want to cover, but we're also down to talk about whatever. I think we like putting out info, and I like doing research. So if there's a certain topic that you guys want, send us a message or comment on the video. We're on YouTube, so you can go leave a comment down there. We want to hear from you guys and keep producing the stuff that you guys want to hear. So let us know.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Well, till next week. Thanks for being here.
We'll see you next time.